no cavities. Well, what I know now is that a cavity is really a pretty big event. That says that you've been having some dental disease for a period of time, and eventually that enamel gave in, it created a hole, and it's either going to be drilled and filled and repaired, or else you're going to be suffering, nerve damage and a whole lot of other problems.
I think the psychology around cavities, I talk to a lot of peers or who have kids now, and I think when we were young, cavities were expected. Exactly. They drilled, they filled with all this lead and this silver and that type of thing. Yeah. And now the psychology has changed. Like it's an event when a child has a cavity now. And if your child has a cavity, it's because you're not taking care of your child or teaching your child the right way of taking care of their mouth.
Well, relative to what Sally was saying a few minutes ago, we needed so much repair work that we not only was dental care expensive, it was also something to be afraid of. Right. A lot of people were very afraid of that.
Then when I was a little girl, my dentist used to give me a lovely parting gift, a glob of mercury right in my hand to play with.
Right. As I said, we're learning a lot about what the risks are and what we need for protection.
I'm still here.
Yeah, you're still here. Me too. But, the idea of this generation growing up with fewer cavities and fewer, I would call them oral health events, that is really true. There are a lot of factors contributing to that. And one of those is the water fluoridation. And so, many communities have agreed to water fluoridation. Here in Florida, I think we're at about 78% of the communities have water fluoridation. It's a controversial issue. I consider myself, I'm getting a Schweitzer Award, and I consider myself an environmentalist. A lot of people who think that fluoride is not a good thing to use, but in the 70 years plus of the research that's being done around oral care, children are doing better. With a water fluoridation in the communities, they're having fewer cavities. That's a great thing. Where you don't see that to be true is in the different economic, racial, and ethnic variances in our communities. So we still see a big difference between children who have commercial insurance, who have access to dental care, and those who don't.
Because I know we're going to run short of time, because we always do every time we have an interesting conversation. I want to sort of get to, our listeners and what this show is about. Sure. It is so expensive for seniors, yes. And there are, there's a lot of seniors who have a great deal of money, and that's for sure, especially in the 46, 64 generation. But, a good 25 to 30% are just making ends meet, probably on Social Security and Medicare combination.
Sure.
And you're working toward a goal that is really interesting. Do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. Well, this is not a new problem in terms of affordability and accessibility to healthcare in general. And over 50 years ago, we decided as a nation to create two programs, the Medicare program for those over 65 and Medicaid program for those who were, for many reasons, mostly disability reasons, were unable to afford healthcare. When those programs were created in the mid-60s, we pretty much guaranteed that children would have Medicaid coverage for dental services. And even though it's as a state program, states would implement programs for dental coverage for children. It didn't make it into Medicare. So, all of the health issues that are covered by our Medicare programs that are so important to those of us who are either in that category or about to be, dental care is only covered as a medical necessity. So what we've been hearing from a lot of our network across the country is, gee, I grew up with dental benefits. I'm turning 65 and I find out I'm on my own now.
That's right.
And it's a big cost. I heard an example recently of, I asked someone, where are you going on your annual vacation this year? And they said, no vacation this year. I said, why not? Big surprise. You're always going on a really good trip. I always like to hear about it. Well, $30,000 for, my husband's dental care, she described, we're not going anywhere this year. And so, $30,000 is a lot of money for most people. And to pay that for a dental care that either wasn't treated over a lifetime and now at that age covered, fee-for-service, we call it.
You can spend that on 2 implants, really.
Yes, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's interesting that about this, because you hear so often about, like infections in your mouth and in your gums can actually cause heart trouble.
Right.
I mean, this is actually a physical, this is part of your body. And the fact that they don't cover that,
well, some of the studies now, both for people with diabetes, people with cardiac disease, they're looking at managing your dental care, your oral health can have a positive impact on managing your diabetes. And the same thing with your heart.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so I think we're making the connection back. I don't know if there's going to be any walking away from the fact that the mouth is part of the body. When you think about our blood system, our nervous system, those are things that we're facing. And, this idea that we have about aging, we're all concerned about body parts that are giving out. There's a knee or a back or something like that. We think about inflammatory diseases. This is what dental infections are. They're inflammatory.
That's right.
You hear that in the end of the word periodontitis. That itis is the inflammatory, a couple of syllables that we hear. Part of a group called the Santa Fe Group. At the end of September, we will be having what we call a salon. It's like a conference where we will actually try to solve some problems. And the focus of that salon is going to be on this getting coverage for older Americans for dental care. So I'll have more to report after we get the findings, because, of course, when you think about a policy issue like Medicare, you've got cost, you've got the range of benefits, you've got who will be covered, et cetera.
That's right. I can't tell you how much it meant to us to have you here with us. And, we do this by Skype, so we can continue this conversation.
Love to come back.
Even when you're not here directly in the studio.
Well,
All
thanks
right.
for having me.
This is David Yeck here. And remember, you can find us, Yackabout or Yackabout Tech, on all the social networks. Just do a search. And if you have ideas for things you'd like us to concentrate on, just write to me at yackabouttech@gmail.com. That's yackabouttech@gmail.com. And I am looking forward to seeing you, hearing you, or you hearing me next week. So take care.